Welcome to Red, White, and Blue. From the right, I'm Gary Polland.
And from the mostly left, I'm David Jones.
Tonight we welcome Peter Brown, City Councilman, candidate for mayor, architect, and has been involved in the private sector community for a long time in Houston. And David, I think it's fair to say, based on what the pundits are saying, not us, Peter Brown is headed to the runoff for mayor.
And he's had 2 terms on city council. Why, right. Peter, would you leave city council with 1 term left? I mean, everybody else serves their 6th, and then they move on.
Okay, I've said I'm looking for a better paying job at City Hall, but the real reason is that if you want to get something done in a strong mayor form of government, you got to be the mayor. And I have a agenda, a blueprint, I think you've seen it, for an even better Houston, and that's what I will do as the next mayor.
Well, then, the last mayor, and you've certainly been a supporter of his, and sometimes you've talked well about him. Let's evaluate the last 4 years.
6 years.
Well, he's only had 4.
Oh.
But you can evaluate his 6 if you want. But you haven't laid any new tracks since you've been on city council. I don't know that our air is any better. I don't know we've improved police and safety issues because we haven't had any new cadet classes. So exactly what is it that you and this mayor have accomplished?
Well, wait a minute, David. Wait a minute. Since I've been on city council, the number of classified police officers has increased by 10%. I think that's progress. We've got more police on the streets, and I support continuing that policy. Except for this economic downturn, we've brought a lot of jobs and businesses to this city. We've done a good job of economic development. I think that's something to be proud of. We've made a lot of progress in the last 6 years, and I've been there 4 of those 6 years. And I think that's very important. I think the people of Houston recognize it. And when I'm mayor, that progress will continue. It's no time to start over again when you elect a new mayor. We're going to continue the good government policies of Bill White. We're going to make it even better.
Let's talk about the vision thing. Certainly beat up on me for continuing this line of thought. But, it seems to me like the city of Houston and the mayor as a chief executive supports, that 60 cents of every dollar to police and fire. And then the rest of the job of mayor is to make sure that developer, engineer, architect, and lawyer community is happy and well-funded so they can make a living, whether it's an engineering firm or an architectural firm. So what do the people who are left out of this system, what interest do they have in who's mayor?
Well, we've certainly got to keep the business community happy and be very proactive about economic growth in the city, but that really has to translate into opportunities for everybody, not just a select group of special interests who, by the way, are not supporting me. They're not supporting Peter Brown. And I think we've had too much, not with Bill White, but before that, too much special interest influence down at City Hall. And as the independent candidate in this race, that's going to change. We're going to pay attention to the small businessman like Gary Polland, right, Gary? We talked about that. and helping our small businesses grow. I'm a small businessman myself. I know what that means. And you're rushing from one client to another, right? And you got to work hard to manage your business and take care of the bottom line.
Peter Brown's a man who's for the businessman who hustles for a living.
Well, David, I think it's fair to say that he's not the special interest candidate in the race. He's not gotten any endorsements, as far as I can tell, or not any endorsements, period, but endorsements from the special interest that you've just described as running the city. And so, Peter, if you're headed to a runoff, which it appears you are, right, are the special interests all going to be giving money to whoever you end up with in a runoff because they want to keep the independent candidate out?
They say in politics there's an early train and there's a late train. You know what that means. You might have to explain to the public what that means. But by the time the election comes along, November 3rd, my early train will have pulled out. I know who my friends are. They're the ministers who are supporting me. They're the grassroots civic club presidents. They're the leaders in some of our minority communities. They're all over Houston. They're on the early train. Certainly there's some seats on the later train, but it's not even pulling out of the station yet.
Do you think the fact of the way you've garnered support in this race would make it easier for you to stand up to some of the special interests that when they're working against the interests of average citizens?
Well, look, I want to stand up for the taxpayer. Hope that makes you feel good.
Well, I'm a taxpayer.
But that's what we need to do. We need to stand up for the taxpayer and the citizens who have specific needs in our community. And that's what I mean by independent candidate. I'm in a real good position, not beholden to any special interests, to do what's right for the city and to stand up for the taxpayer, for the small businessman, for community interests.
Can you tell us the time during your 4 years, and with Bill White setting the agenda, of course, where you opposed the special interests in some visible way?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a proponent of high-quality development, which is compatible with neighborhoods. And whether it's the Ashby high-rise or whether it's a poor-quality, what I call cookie-cutter subdivision out in northeast Houston, I've stood up against those special interests who are trying to use the city as a means to enriching themselves without improving the quality of life in our city. I think growth should improve, not diminish our quality of life. That's a fundamental principle that we have. Now, I'm for growth, but I'm for quality growth, and I think the city has a role to play, the mayor, leadership role, in making sure that we partner with the business sector and get quality growth in the right places.
The city is facing a budget deficit. The numbers vary, $50 to $100 million, or a shortfall. Could you identify some areas of the budget where you think there could be cuts made to achieve the balanced budget?
Well, we are making cuts. We have amended the 2010 budget. We have cut all department budgets of each department now 1%. We are saving money on construction costs are down now, and so the bond money that's not needed for projects that because they're coming in under budget, we can use that money to further close this gap. There are purchases of materials and spare parts that we have delayed and are not necessary. I think personally we spend too much money on spare parts, and we need better inventory control. You get that when I'm the mayor. So we have basically closed this budget gap, and we are preparing in a very fiscally responsible way for fiscal year 2011. We will cut, except for police and fire, we will decrease departmental budgets by an additional 2% and make some other changes so that we don't have a shortfall in 2011.
We built Reliant, Minute-Maid, Toyota. Some of that probably preceded your time as member of council. Did you oppose any of those? And do you worry about your opponent, Gene Locke, who was general counsel for the Houston Sports Authority and who sold to the city of Houston, perhaps misrepresented to the city of Houston, the nature of, or rather the health of the financing of those stadia?
Well, I think those are bad bond deals. My opponent, Gene Locke, has actually bragged that he, quote, cut those deals. By the way, when I'm mayor, I'm not cutting any deals. We're gonna build consensus for what's right for Houston, but we're not cutting any deals. And I think the taxpayers have been left on the short end of the stick.
Well, Gary opposed one of those. I don't. What did you? Were you active ever in opposing?
No, that
any
was
of these
that was a Houston-Harris County Sports Authority deal, I guess we could call it. And I think that had I been mayor and had I been aware of the transactions that indirectly would expose the Houston taxpayers, I would have stepped in and said, "Whoa." I think we need to look at a different way to finance these big stadia so that the taxpayers don't have any exposure. Now, that's what we've done, by the way, with the soccer stadium. There is no exposure, or there will be no exposure for the taxpayers in the soccer stadium, else I'm not going to support it.
Yeah, because my understanding is the soccer people are back asking for more, either from the city or county. The city has gotten the land, acquired the land.
We're keeping the land. We're not selling the land.
Okay, so you're saying no more besides that from the city if you're
That's
mayor.
it, yeah. And then the owners of the soccer team, the Dynamo, are responsible for putting the financing together. We are asking Harris County to participate from their tax increment reinvestment funds. That's not any new taxes. And the responsibility for the financing, paying off the debt, will be the owners of the soccer team.
As a member of City Council, you've experienced the strong form of mayoral government that Houston has. You mentioned that as one of the reasons you're running is so you can get things done. My question is, do you believe we should allow city councilmen and women more ability to bring things up on the agenda without having to be controlled by the iron hand of the mayor, as we've had for years and years?
Well, I intend to be a, let's call it a participatory mayor in terms of what the city council does. I was there. I know each council member's got 5 staff members. There are 14. That's 70 plus 14. That's 84 educated, talented people. And I think they could be doing more to advance the economic and quality of life agenda of the city. So I would give them more responsibilities. I think whether I would make a formal change so they could put something on the agenda, but I will ask each council member periodically, what would you like to put on the agenda? No one's ever asked me that question, by the way.
In 4 years?
No, nobody's ever.
You mean
asked
Bill
me.
Lanier never asked you that question?
Bill White.
Well, it is Bob
Well,
Lanier.
I don't
Isn't Bob
follow-
Lanier calling the shots for the Gene Locke campaign, just like he helped call the shots for the Bill White campaign?
That seems to be
Is he
what's
your,
happening.
Is he your opponent? Is he one of your opponents in this
so,
race?
I certainly appear to be in former Mayor Lanier's crosshairs.
Really?
Oh,
Well, and, why don't you tell us, because everyone has to reveal the sources of their funds so we can see conflicts of interest, and you have very little, and that is because you're self-financing. Should we be troubled that somebody could walk in and, having been a very successful person, just spend unlimited amounts of money? Are you the Bloomberg in this race?
Well,
are you going to spend
Bloomberg
are you going to spend $65 million?
Look,
that would reduce the city deficit.
Yeah.
Look, I have put substantial funds into this, but it's part of my long-standing commitment to the city of Houston, and I've supported a lot of other things. I've supported park projects and other things I think it's very consistent. Of course, Mayor White put substantial personal funds in his race. I don't think he got a lot of criticism. I haven't gotten any criticism about this because people know that I don't have a hidden agenda. My agenda is right here. It's my blueprint for an even better Houston. I like to say this is not a lot of political fluff, folks. This is a real agenda. This is, you see this is what you get. And so I think the issue comes up when there's a hidden agenda and someone's trying to either buy influence or overly influence the outcome of a race. But no one's ever brought that up to me.
4 years on city
Except
council.
one of my opponents.
Yeah, well, 4 years on city council, Peter. What do you think the most significant accomplishment was as a council member?
Well, I would say, in general, I have supported and been active in a number of quality of life improvements that we have made in the city. And by the way, I'm not going to say that I did the whole thing because I helped put together the ordinance, but the mayor, you got to give credit to the mayor and a strong
because he controls the agenda.
Exactly. But we've made major strides in preventing flooding and flood control. We haven't quite seen the results yet. We have a new comprehensive drainage plan coming out, which I did. That's my budget amendment. That is for the first time we're going to have a proactive, rationalized investment of infrastructure improvements to control flooding. The same with a transportation plan. I've been very involved with fighting to improve public transit, our bus system, and our rail system. Now, unfortunately, we haven't made a lot of progress there. I know you're going to ask me about that.
No, I was just going to wonder about the fist. It was a sort of a Cesar Chavez moment here. I didn't.
Right. Well, the other thing I think I made a lot of progress on these blighting influences that negatively impact our neighborhoods and property values. And we've got some new ordinances to tear down dangerous buildings, to shut down hot sheet motels and gaming parlors, and to have
So
some,
that's what you and the city council and the mayor
some
accomplished.
basic standards to protect our neighborhoods and property
But it's
values.
mostly been a collaborative effort. Your accomplishments have been in a collaborative.
My voice has been one of the louder voices on city council.
Is this because, let me ask you quickly, is this because are you backing off of the claim that you built parks, police and fire stations, health clinics, and schools in over 40 Houston neighborhoods?
No, that's what I've done as an architect and urban planner and city council member. For example, Riverside Health Clinic, they were going to shut that down after there was a flood. I said, no, we can value engineer this. I made some sketches and drawings about how we could get the price down. It came within the city budget. Within 6 months, the Riverside Health Clinic was open. Now, I think I'm not going to take all the credit for it, but if I hadn't gotten involved I was on city council, but as an architect, that clinic probably would be still sitting there vacant.
And did you create the old Sixth Ward protected historic
I had a
district?
major role in particularly the pattern book, which the writing and the content of the pattern book, which sets the design standards for what you can do and what you can't do in a historic district. And by the way, that's a really good approach, which I support. Before, you had the members of the Archaeological and Historic Commission sort of thinking about, well, is that appropriate or not? Now they've got a pattern book that gives them what to do and what not to do.
All right, to simplify the efforts of our police officers, would you support a citation issued by HPD for marijuana as opposed to arresting people, taking the police off the street, processing? I mean, you understand, every time we arrest somebody, the police are off the street for 2 or 3 hours, which reduces our police presence. Do you think that's a good idea, worthy of consideration?
Well, I think we need to concentrate on making the city safe and enforcing the law, particularly laws which are related to more serious crimes. And we're short on police officers. I'm going to go after the federal funds to get more police officers. I don't think we ought to divert the police officers, but we do need to enforce the law. So you presented a conundrum there.
Well, you can
As
start writing a
Mayoral
ticket.
found the
Just write a ticket if it's 8 grams of marijuana. You want the 17-year-old to go to jail? If the city of Houston take a police officer or 3 off the street for 3 hours, when a cop can write a ticket?
I think that's an approach we need to discuss, but it's not just the mayor and the city. It's Harris County and the sheriff's department and so forth.
You support the repeal of term limits?
No.
No. Would you fire the present police chief?
Yes.
Would you ban
Well, not
texting
fire.
and
I would
texting
hope
and
he would
driving?
resign.
Would you ban texting and driving?
I think we need to start in school zones.
I think that's probably already there.
I think the legislature
No,
just
it's not.
did that.
It's not quite there yet.
To reduce our budget deficit, would you ask the legislature to restructure the hotel occupancy tax so that it can be, and we can spend it strictly on libraries and parks rather than subsidizing these stadiums?
I think we need to go to the legislature and with a more comprehensive agenda that assists the city in balancing our budget. That might be one of the things that we would consider. But when you take away from Peter and give to Paul, you got to do something for Peter. So,
wouldn't you prefer, as mayor, for the city to have full control over all the revenue coming in, so it spends the money the way the city council and mayor decide?
We have enterprise funds. Aviation fees go to aviation combined utility system. Those funds go for water, sewer, and drainage. I think. You have to have reliable funding sources for specific items that the city is responsible for.
Why haven't we laid any new tracks, to improve our mobility in the last 6 years?
Paralysis at Metro.
Well, the mayor runs Metro. He has a majority of the votes there.
Well, you've got a board chair, and you've got a board, 5 members appointed by the mayor, and then you've got a president CEO who is in effect. I think as mayor, I'd be much more directly involved with Metro and their programs and their projects. I've had a lot of personal experience as an architect and urban planner with urban transit systems from a technical viewpoint. When I'm mayor, I'm going to get the job done.
So you're not happy with the leadership that has been provided by both the mayor and the head of Metro?
No, I'm not going to criticize the mayor. The mayor delegated 2 people that had real credentials But through a series of, by the way, another bad set of contracts that Metro engaged in and spent a lot of the taxpayers' money, maybe $50 million or more, on consultants over the last 5 years, and we didn't get anything out of it. And that's really bothersome.
But we did get
I believe one of my opponents was involved in those deals.
Who would that be?
That would be Locke.
I think it would be.
Did as a result of spending money on consultants end up reducing bus service for those Houstonians who are mobility impaired and need bus service?
I don't know the answer to that, but I think our bus service has suffered. But what we need is a combined rail and bus service that's first class.
Well, Peter, I cannot let you go, and we're down to our last 5 minutes, without talking about property taxes, an area that I like to talk about. David laughs. Property taxes have outstripped inflation, outstripped population growth. They continue to go up every year for most citizens of the city of Houston. The city, while you've been on council, has voted for small property tax relief every year, but it really hadn't made a significant difference. Do you have any ideas of how we can give property tax relief to the hard-pressed homeowners in the city?
Well, certainly I think we need to extend the senior exemption. I mean, that's the basic principle by which we can do this in a more immediate way. I think longer term, if you look in my blueprint, there's a call for a business plan. We're a $4 billion corporation that doesn't really have a business plan. And if we can grow the tax base and do more with less in terms of city government, we will be in a position. That will be one of the goals of my longer-term business plan. These are the conditions under which we can make a meaningful reduction in the property tax rate. I'd also like to see eventually a city approach and policy that removes this cottage industry of going before a Harris County appraisal district and trying to get your appraisals lowered. There's a whole cottage industry out there associated with that, which in a way is a hidden tax that the city does not get.
You must be doing pretty well with that argument, because the polls suggest that you have some support among West Side conservative, dare I say Republican, voters. When Denise Parker was here, she volunteered. We didn't ask her. She just volunteered. I am a proud Democrat. Now, I know that you've given money to lots of Democrats. You probably voted in the Democratic primary of 2008. How proud are you?
Well, let me say this. I've got red and I got blue. And this is a nonpartisan race.
That makes you a purple guy.
I don't know if that's the conclusion, but I really believe that the major issues facing the city, making it safe, economic development, quality of life in the neighborhoods, and more efficient, accountable government, those are centrist issues which shouldn't be part of partisan politics. And I want to represent the whole city. I don't want to just represent one segment. And so we've cast a wide net.
But shouldn't somebody know you? I mean, and to know who you've supported, who you voted for, and who you've given money to.
Well, I've contributed to people that I think are highly qualified, both Democrats and Republicans, more so for Democrats. But I think the issue here is what's driving me as the mayor, and I want the people of Houston to know it's not partisan politics. It's doing what's right for all the people in the city of Houston.
Okay, we're a big city. Major cities in Texas, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, they all have city managers. Do we need to have a city manager help run this city?
Well, if I could hire David Jones as a city manager, maybe yes, but he's not available. He's making too much.
I'm available for police chief.
Too much.
Yes,
no,
that'd be interesting.
I think we need. We tried that. It was disbanded. I say no.
No,
we did need a very effective chief operating officer.
Well, so you accept all of the responsibilities of the mayor's position with department heads, all of the judges, setting the agenda. This is what in the last minute we have. What in your background gives us reassurance that you can manage an operation of this size?
Well, I think my experience as a businessman. I'm the only career businessman in this race, and I've managed a medium-sized architectural firm. You know, you got to market, you got to hire talent, you got to know how to fire people, you got to borrow money, pay it back, manage the bottom line. All these things I think are very important. This business experience to help me continue to run the city like a business. And certainly we've done that. Mayor White's tried hard, and I will continue that.
Are you ready to appoint a blue ribbon commission if you're elected mayor? You could call it the Brown Commission that'll look into fraud, waste, and abuse in everything the city does.
I'm not sure I would commit to the Brown Commission, but let me tell you this. We're going to go through every single city department. I know the ones that are efficient, and I know the ones that are less efficient. I'll tell the solid waste management, very efficient department.
Peter, thanks very much for being with us today.
Thank
you. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and remember to vote on November the 3rd. Actually, early voting starts right now, so you can find out more, of course, about Peter Brown and about the show Red, White, and Blue by visiting us at HoustonPBS.org. Check that out, and until next time, get informed and get active.